The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Neagle.
Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Not to mention the country roads that make up Summit Point Raceway, which today plays host to Formula Neagle Round 3 event for the Skip Barber Open Wheelers, sanctioned by the Absolute Beginners League and carried live as it happens here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. If you were with us last time at Mount Panorama, you saw John Halberg and Ricard Allard outpace the rolling Estonian Aeronum. With 5 races left, round 3 will be pivotal in respect to the championship. In just under a quarter hour, the lights will go off and the standing grid of skippies will smoke their tires as they begin to accelerate down the straight towards the first right-hander on this Summit Point circuit. So during the pre-race show, ensure the cables from the internet to the television are secure. Drop a dog on a bun and top it with some chili, coleslaw, and mustard. Grab a can of Mountain Dew from the fridge, but put your feet up on the recliner and enjoy the 45 minutes of simulated road course excitement that will be streaming your way. Hello from the Mountain State, everybody, and welcome to another GSRC broadcast. I'm your host, Bill Soups On. Joining me in the booth, as always, is the always articulate Joe Peak. Turning the knobs and pushing the sliders is our director, Amjad Yaman. And at his disposal will be the camera locations provided by the Ansel Adams of iRacing, Dougie Beard. Coming into this season's, fans and experts alike figured everyone would be fighting for second as Aeronum outclassed the field. But after 2 events, it's clear the path to the crown will not be easy for anyone. And the next step on that path takes place here at Summit Point. Joe, tell us a little bit about it.
Well, you mentioned the country roads of West Virginia, Bill, and that's a pretty apt description. This place is narrow and windy, making passing difficult over much of the circuit. You've got 2 decent places for a pass in turn 1 and maybe turn 5, but it's sometimes called Yard Sale Corner because of the chaos that tends to erupt on lap 1. On top of that, most of the drivers are going to be very familiar with this circuit because of it being part of the base content on iRacing. Almost every driver on the roadside has driven here at some point. And with over 30 drivers cramped inside its 2 miles and 10 turns, you got a recipe for a pressure cooker and probably our fair share of action today. But to get a feel for what it's like from a driver's eye view, let's go to the GSRC lap guide. Alright, we've got Amjad Yaman and the GSRC Skippy, so let's do a lap around Summit Point. Coming across the start-finish line, it's a nice long run to turn 1. This is pretty blatantly your best place for an overtake on the track. Long straight braking zone, tight corner, it's about as inviting as it gets. Just make sure and spot your brake marker so that you don't outbrake yourself. With the increasing radius on the exit of the turn, you'll want to get the car lined up so understeer will be the enemy in terms of setup. Power down and keep the car over to the right to set yourself up for 3. This turn is a little off camber and it's got a pretty blind crest, so it's mostly going to be a single file affair through here. You'll see a lot of guys pushing the limits though and kicking up dirt by just glancing that gravel to the right. Now just aim for the left and then it's a bit of a lift through 4. After that, throw out the anchor for 5. The wild entry to this hairpin has caused it the nickname Yard Sale Corner for the way the first lap melees leave cars scattered across the infield. Here's where the more technical section of the track begins though. There's a lot of low and medium speed turns with no time to rest between each apex. As you approach the S's, it's going to be critical to line the car up right and set yourself up for each subsequent corner. The last and most important of them will be turn 9, which dumps you onto the backstretch. If you sacrifice your speed on the exit, any car close behind will be ready to pounce before you hit turn 10. This is a potential place for a pass, but it's tricky. It's only a light brush on the brakes, so you need to be fully alongside your opponent. But with it leading back on the main straight, the most important thing will be carrying your speed off the corner and applying the gas as soon as you can. If you got it all right, you finished a lap around Summit Point.
A lap around Summit Point by the multi-talented Amjad Yaman. He directs, he does our video laps, and he's also a competitive knitter, which is very impressive indeed. Moving to the points, there is a new sheriff in town The locals call him Buckles, but his standing graphics show him as Johan Halberg. The rolling Estonian Aero Num has a pair of poles and a victory in the first 2 races, but a highly competitive points chase, a third in Australia, was enough to drop the reigning champ into second. Halberg, Num, and Ricard Allard have been together on the track the entire season, so it's no surprise to see Allard hot on the heels of the Bushfink cousins there in the chase. A 4th and a 7th was enough to push Vincent Bream behind the Bushfink trio. Marcel Seidel is still without a top 5 finish, but nevertheless, he sits in 5th. Conspicuous by his absence is the former champion Tuan Tran, who has found no success so far this season and is buried in 12th. Quickly, if we move to the team standings, it's the important word is indeed team. For someone as likable as Johan Halberg, Buckles' antisocial Bushfink Green solo effort might not have the manpower for a long-term run at the team championship. In contrast, DBR's Rust with Marcel Seidel and David Burns, their best finish between them is only 5th, but their worst finish is 9th, and that consistency has them tied for the lead. Another solo Bushfink effort is Aero Num's Pink team. Now, I don't know what color you get if you mix together pink and green, but I think the whole league would agree that that's an ugly color, because if Halberg and Num ever combined their scores, man, they'd be tough to beat. Now, Bream and Wojciech Podolzek in DBR's Two Stupid Dogs is in 4th, with Jonas Blix is very happy to be teamed with Ricard Allard, because those 2 drivers have the yellow-flavored Bushfink team up into 5th. Now, Joe, we've talked about the track, we've talked about the drivers and the points. Now let's quickly take a look at some of the race-specific details for this event.
Absolutely. And for those who aren't familiar with the Absolute Beginners Neagle Cup, obviously we're racing the Skip Barber Formula 2000 car. Race is going to be about 45 minutes today, actually exactly 45 minutes today, and they've got a 3-lap solo qualifying session. They're doing that right now, so they're all by themselves out on the track, and they get 3 laps to get a competitive lap in. There are open setups in this league, so even though the Skippy doesn't have a lot of options that can come into play, if you're good with tweaking and fiddling with the car, you can get those last couple of tenths out of it. There are no fast repairs. If you get damage in the race, you got to deal with it for the rest of the way, unless you can get a little bit of repair done during your pit stop. Fuel is limited to 65%, so they're going to have 1 stop. However, it is a very large pit window with that 65% fuel tank, so expect guys to be stopping very early and very late and every time in between. There is an incident cap, 17 incidents, so guys have got to keep it on the track and got to keep from running into each other in the walls. Obviously, that'll give you damage that you don't want, but even still, if you go off track too many times, you can be disqualified. The weather is dynamic today, and it's about 99 degrees on the track, so it's not too hot compared to what this series has seen in the past, especially at this track. It's mostly cloudy out, 84-degree air temperature. However, one thing to watch out for, the wind. This is going to be changing since it's dynamic. It's about 10 miles an hour. But, Bill, the big talking point, and the big reason I want to watch out for that wind, is they now have the new particle system in the most recent build of iRacing, and that means they're going to get dirt and gravel and dust all over the track every time they go off and come back on. And the wind, depending on the direction it's blowing and what part of the track they're going off on, that means that you can get a lot of grime and gunk all over the racing line. So keep your eyes on that track.
Yes, for people who aren't familiar with iRacing, every 13 weeks there is what they call a new build, and they add in new features to the program. And this is really the first race for the Absolute Beginner League since the new build. And one of the things that they've added in for iRacing is the particle method of dust being thrown on the track. And Joe, we're already seeing that. We're hearing drivers complaining about it.
Yeah, a couple of drivers have mentioned it, asking if they can find a way to sweep it up on the circuit, but unfortunately they have the session set so that it carries over from practice to qualifying and to race. So all that they've been doing in practice actually has an effect of what's going to be happening in the race. And I'm wondering if we're going to start seeing leagues take that into account and punish drivers who maybe act a little stupid or maybe even intentionally try to drag stuff onto the track during the practice session if they have it carry over like that. Now, if you are keeping an eye on the track and watching out for see where the trouble zones are, look for turn 1, 3, and 10 from what we've been seeing in practice when we're watching out. I'm seeing a lot of dirt building up, especially in the braking for 1. That's going to be difficult. 3, not so much because it's on the exit and it's on the inside of the corner, so guys are going to miss it mostly, but even still, that could come into play. Turn 10 is really the big one that I want to watch out for because that's on the outside of the racing line in the middle of the corner. If anybody tries to make a pass there, Bill, it's going to be bad news. They may wash out pretty easily.
Now, one of the things, we're going to talk draft now, one of the things that the series organizers like to do is put these races on fairly large tracks that have a draft that plays an effect here. This one probably is one of the tracks with the least amount of draft options going on. There are a couple places, though, right, Joe?
Yeah, the main one is that front stretch, the pit straight down into turn 1. That's the place where guys are going to use it the most to try and get a run on one another. Up to turn 10, you can sometimes get one, and maybe down to turn 5. Other than that, like I said in the intro, it's pretty twisty, so there's not a lot of places where you're going to be able to keep up with someone who's faster than you.
And that may play an effect for the guys who are very good through the twisty sections. Now, once again, it's time for our fan favorite segment. It's Peaks Podium's Picks. It's been a long time since Joe or one of his subs has hit the trifecta. Joe came close, but no cigar, so let's see if he can get back on track today. Joe, you don't need to get the order right, but let's have you call the 3 drivers who will fill the podiums, and keep in mind, while it's easy to do since you haven't hit anything for a while, we'll be tracking your accuracy all season. Go ahead.
All right. Well, Hero has been, obviously he made a mistake last round, but I think that from what we saw last season, he is very tough here at Summit Point. So I think he is going to be the man to beat once again, be back on the top step of the podium. Ricard Allard, he's been very good lately. He and I believe his teammate is Johan Vanderbilt, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, actually, it is Noom, actually. He's teammates with Noom, if I'm not forgetting. I think Ricard is going to be second today. He's been pretty strong last season and this season, so look for him for P2. For third, oh man, that's a tough call. Tuan Tran's been good at this course in the past. I know he's currently down in 5th in qualifying, but I think he might be able to rebound from his performance at Bathurst and come back for a third.
While Allard is actually on Bushfink, though, he is teamed up with Jonas Blixt. I think Noom is soloing it, or if he does have somebody, he hasn't put in an entry so far. They're just about to grid up. I want drivers to keep an eye on the big cat, Sam Catazino. He entered the season last race and is doing very well. They're about ready to grid, so let's call it right now. On the pole, Aero Num outside of row 1 is Ricard Allard. Then Johan Vanderbilt, the fan belt, back in there in 3rd position. And the big cat, Sam Catazino, in 4th. There's a former champion, Tuan Tran, trying to get back on track in 5th. Johan Hallberg in 6th. Making up row 4 will be Mikael Ingstrom and David Burns. And then the 5th row is Piers Cocky. Good to see him back. Let's hope he gets his fuel calculations right. And Jonas Blixt in 10th. Joe?
11th is going to be Neil Bamber, Vincent Brame in the 12th position. Then you've got Eric Lukul, Joachim Lundgren, Marcel Seidel, and Wojciech Podazek from 12th to 16th. Tony Hayes in 17th. Richard Colomb in 18th. Liam Quinn in 19th. And Mark Figueres rounds out the top 20.
In 21st is Stefan Schmidt. Fabian Youngbluth in the outside of row 11 there. Then William Martins de Silva in 23rd. Outside of him, Daniel Kruger. The 13th row made up of Michael Key and Lauren Murray. Row 14 is Miguel Freitas and Michael Parks. And then the 15th row, Darren Bolton and Edgar Sanchinellis. Joe?
Then in 31st, rounding out the field, W.J. Vandenbrand is 31st. Scott Brazier in 32nd. Adrian Cruz in 33rd, and Darren Kuhn rounding out the field in 34th. And that is our field of over 30 drivers.
As usual, a large field today. Okay, there is no pace lock. This is a standing start. Keep an eye on that kind of lavender-colored machine up front. That is the Rolling Estonian Aero Num. Gather up the chickens, take cover behind the cows because the horses are out of the barn, and Arrow Num leads the stampede of drivers into that first right-hander. He's being followed by Allard, Vanderbilt in third, Catacasino in fourth, making a challenge up in front now. They go side by side through one. I think they're going to get that settled down, Joe.
Yeah, I'm watching. Oh, we got an accident a little bit farther back. We have a car off. I'm trying to see who that is. Can't quite get back to him. Everybody's going by. That's Pierre's Cocky. Oh, terrible start for him. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, Cocky on the inside of, you saw him on the grass there on the inside of turn one.
It looks like he just simply pulls off and stops it. Yeah, I think he was trying to keep out of everybody's way. Looks like he might got clipped by everybody, or by one person rather. But as they head into turn 5, trying to see if we're getting any action there. Usually, like I said, yard sale corner. Cars collect one another and go off into the grass, but everybody makes it through.
Except for that little problem from Cocky, everybody is clean, and now they're starting to single file up. Num out in front. Allard, go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I think also we had a little bit of trouble at the start. I think someone didn't get off the line towards the back, but I don't think anybody ran into one another, just a few cars having to take to the grass to get around them.
As the leader comes around to complete the first lap, it's Num, Allard, Vanderbilt, Tran doing a great job running in fourth, and Halberg in fifth. The Bits Cat has fallen back a little bit into sixth position. Ingstrom in seventh, rounding out your top 10. In fact, there's a battle back there right now. Let's look at Vincent Bream being passed on the outside by Jonas Blix. Nope, not going to get it done as they go through that right-hander to set up. Blix was on the outside, couldn't finish the pass. So Bream in seventh, Blixton in Bleeman ninth, Blixt in 10th.
And unfortunately, it looks like Marcel Seidel was the driver that just clipped Cocky because he went into the pits immediately and has exited out of the race. He is done. Edgar Sanchinelli has come in. He may have got some damage somewhere. Scott Brazier as well. But it looks like everybody else is back out on track. 31 cars still driving.
And the leader's able to stay on the tail of Num. So often this has been the Num train. Get all aboard the Num train as he leads them through those twisty sections if the drivers are fast enough to stay with him. And so far it looks like that's going to be the case. I think they're going to be able to stay in the draft as they go down the long back straight now. Tran very wide, yeah. And he's going to lose that position, I think.
It's so easy to do that through that corner. You're trying hard to keep your foot down and not have to lift. And, whoa, is that Noom going off up at the front?
It's way off in the grass. Pushing the boundaries of the track envelope there, but he got it going straight again.
And that's another spot where it's common to see drivers go off in the past pushing the boundaries of the track because you can't get stuck in the gravel in iRacing because of the way things work currently. But I think you're going to see drivers wanting to do that less and less because you're not going to make a lot of friends dragging all that dirt and grime onto the course out of that corner. Meanwhile, look at the battle per second we got between Vanderbilt and Allard.
Yeah, and I think Allard had visions of getting around Vanderbilt there. Both drivers have to be careful. What usually happens is you have to be perfect to be able to stay with the rolling Estonian. One mistake and it breaks the draft and then he's gone. And I think that's the same attitude that's going back there in fourth place right now. I think Halberg is saying to Tuan Tran, come on, Tron, you got to get up there. If not, I'm going to get around you because I don't want to lose the top three.
Yeah, Tran has worked his way up to fourth, so he's not doing too bad.
There's a car off. It's Catacasinos off into the grass. He was running in about sixth position. He's going to drop way back as he carefully brings it back on. He's going to drop back to about 15th.
He made the mistake of a lot of greedy drivers. He just got that left wheel up on the curb, coming through that left-hander in the S's, and that unsettles the car sometimes. That's what sent him off into the grass. Meanwhile, looking at him trying to climb his way back up past this battle in front of him for 14th.
Yeah, that's Quinn in a battle with Hayes. Hayes in that car out in front, leading the way.
Someone's blown an engine up ahead, but we still got this battle going on as
I think it was Tran in running in fourth position going into turn one, blew an engine.
There goes my perfect call. So I'm sure Tran is worried about other things like the championship. That is going to hurt, especially with his poor performance at Bathurst. Meanwhile, Catacasinos really not able to get past Tony Hayes through three. That's hard to go around the outside on that off-camber corner.
So the bad luck continues for Tron Tran, the Season 6 champion. He just cannot get any momentum here in Season 8.
Saw a bit of smoke from someone up ahead of these guys. I'm not sure who caused that. We're still looking at Catacuzinos down in that 15th spot. He lost a lot of positions from that mistake. This is where Bill, as a driver, you really got to be careful not to let that frustration get to you and make you be hasty out on the track, as he's got to run on Hayes now. You got to wait for the right moment like he's got here. He's going to be able to get to the inside, and I think he's going to have this spot if he can hold the line here. Not quite. Hayes doing beautiful around the outside.
And while that's going on, we have 3 wide, maybe going into 1 at the lead. I think we have a pass for the lead, something we'll probably see a few more times, but Vanderbilt has taken over, and Num kind of just surrendered the position, let him have it.
We saw Nome from the very start of when he came into this series figure out how to play this fuel game. So I wonder if he's going to let Johan just kind of lead the way for a bit now.
Yeah, well, the last thing he wants to do is be the car out in front doing all the work, because so much has to play, especially based on what kind of pit stop he had at Bathurst, was basically he came in with everybody and came out about 2 seconds behind. I don't think he wants to have another one of those experiences, so probably sitting back in second. Not the worst thing for him to do right now.
So your order, Vandenbelt up in the lead, Noam now down to second, Allard keeping a real close eye on these guys, and actually not dropping off too much. Hallberg in fourth and Burns in fifth. These guys are keeping them in tow, and as long as they can just keep within that draft, you might be able to see a top 5 battle for this lead.
Yeah, Tran's misfortune when he blew the engine is probably Johan Hallberg's good fortune, because Tran was holding Hallberg up. Now he has clear air in front of him. You'll see if he can get up in there and turn this into a 5-car battle, as we have a pass for the lead up front. There goes the Roland Estonian back in front. Vanderbilt go ahead, drop back into second.
So I guess maybe not looking to play the fuel game quite yet. Meanwhile, in the back, W.J. Vandenbrand had a big off, and that was coming through the S's, I think. He's back on track now, though. Oh, no, momentarily at least, as he works his way off and comes back on, coming through 5. Just overshot the corner. That's another spot where it's very common to see drivers lock up the brakes coming through that kink, trying to get the car settled down.
We'll see what happens this time down the main straight for the leaders. What may be happening, Joe, is they may be looking back and seeing Hallberg back there in 4th position. Now, those leaders might be saying, we'll just leapfrog here down the main straight, pick up 2 or 3 car lengths each time around, and see if we can keep those guys from turning it into a 5-car battle.
Yeah, they could be working together. The draft can give you those extra few tenths if you time it right. But if you don't time it right, you're losing time trying to go side by side, or someone having to lift through the corner to make way for the guy going through. As Noom goes a little sideways through 10. Didn't lose too much time. Meanwhile, Vandenbelt with a decent run. Is he going to try and make the pass? We ride on board with him now.
No, he doesn't. And he certainly had the momentum to do that if he wanted to pull in there. So those 3 are going to maintain position. Let me give you a little interval here. We'll keep an idea. From Allard back to the car that's chasing.
Sorry, behind them there was contact between Burns and Hallberg. Burns sent it up the inside, just went a little wide and clipped him.
And now we'll give you that interval from Allard to Burns is about almost 2 seconds, and I think they really lost a lot of time with that incident that they had back there, Burns and Hallberg together.
Yeah, they've dropped off significantly. That gap is now about 2 seconds as they come through the kink. Let's see if Hallberg makes a go. Nope, just stays in line coming through 5. And now they've got to worry about Mikael Engstrom closing in on them.
Let's go ahead and look at the back half of the top 10. We've talked about the top 5 a lot. 6th place is Mikael Engstrom. He's running about 1.5 seconds behind Hallberg right now. Then there's a nice little battle here for 7th. Wojciech Podolsek in there with Vincent Bream and Eric Lukl. That's a battle, 3-car battle there for 7th position. Then we go back to Joachim Lundgren running in 10th.
Yeah, there we see Lundgren. And you saw actually Lukl get a great run coming off of turn 9, but he elected not to try and stick it up the inside with Braham. I'm surprised by that. Usually you don't try and pass it up, because if you can get the inside line coming into 10, you take it to try and overtake. But I guess these guys aren't worried. Well, maybe they are worried about battling, because Podolsek gives it up as Brame goes to the inside, smokes the tires just a little bit. No flat spots in iRacing, just has to worry about overcooking them. A little bit of an over-under for Podesek, though. Very smart by Podesek. Wow, that was a clever move. I thought he was just going to try and work with him, but he was actually setting up the over-under.
Boy, you can look at these cars really sliding around out there. It's dirty and hot. So now Podesek up into 7th, Brame in 8th, and Lukel in 9th. A couple more drivers I want to keep an eye on. Let's look at Neil Bamber in 11th. Yeah, he's got about a 4-second lead, but the guy he's got a lead on is the big cat, Sam Catagazinos, who had that trouble earlier. He's really made his way up through some of the drivers behind him like Quinn and Colomb, and is now up to 12th position.
Might be able to recover to a top 10 as long as he doesn't get held up too much by drivers trying to fight for position. We'll see how he goes as the race progresses. But this top battle for the lead, Bill, we've got Boom with a run on Vandenbelt. Is he going to take it? Yeah, he looks to the inside again.
Gonna get it done pretty easily. Let's see if he can get that done and then come back across and get a good corner entry.
Meanwhile, we've got pit strategy coming into play. Hallberg comes in for his stop.
Now, because the series uses 65% fuel for both the 45-minute and the 70-minute endurance races, this window is very large in these little 45-minute sprint races. So even with 33 here to go, Hallberg well within his window.
Oh, but Hallberg comes out in a horrible spot. He is in the midst of a huge battle. He's with Freitas, Cruz, and Figueres. This is exactly what he didn't want. He was, I'm assuming, trying to get away with the car he was battling for 4th with. Oh, and a big bottle from Cruz ahead of him. That's going to give him an opportunity to get by Freitas at least. But he's going to be on the outside up into this kink. That's not the place you want to be. Oh, and Catagazinos, more trouble with him. Edgar Sancinelli also off. Let's look at the replay, Bill.
Yeah, Catagazinos having a good run up. Let's see what's going on there. We see him spinning. We'll go back up just a bit more.
Yeah, it looks like he just got a little... Oh, no, he went a little too hot. He went in too hot into turn 5, and Edgar Sancinelli was the gentleman and then some. He just went off into the grass to let him through.
That really worked out well for Sancinelli, because if he would have kept his line, he might have T-boned Catagazinos there, but he was off in the grass. I think he has a Ouija board at the car there, because he knew what was coming.
Well, we're looking at Catagazinos, who slipped all the way back down to 16th. I think that's where he was on it after his first off, so all that hard work. Like I said, you got to watch out for that frustration, the red mist, as drivers like to call it, or else it can make you make more mistakes, and it just makes the race worse.
So Catagazinos doing the Sisyphus race where he's got to push that boulder back up the hill again, get around all those drivers one more time. Meanwhile, looking for Hallberg, because that's where the excitement was. He's now managed to get around, Hallberg has managed to get around Cruz. Oh my goodness! And there's Mark Figueres is almost collecting those guys.
Oof, turn 5 is becoming calamity corner as well. Those drivers are just making all kind of mistakes down into there. It's so easy, Bill, to get over-eager and try to outbrake someone. Like I said, that kink makes lining things up difficult because the car is so unsettled. So drivers are going to be just kind of off canter, and you just sail off into the grass where there's no wall there. Well, thankfully no wall, because you just lose a lot of time, but it's still embarrassing.
So we're looking at Hallberg there in 17th. Let's move up to where it's going to be coming up next. There's a nice battle coming up in front of him. There's Sam Catagazino in 16th, right now in a battle with De Silva and Colomb, and then leading the train is Tony Hayes, running in 13th spot. So both Catagazinos is going to get through there, and Hallberg. Now remember, Hallberg has pitted, but these guys are not going to see a blue flag because that's a battle for position, even though Hallberg's not on the same pit strategy. So he's not going to get a lot of kindness from the guys he's trying to get around.
Yeah, that's the risk you run, and that's where if any of these guys have like a crew chief or a spotter, they can have someone tell them when to pit because they can figure out the timing and see when they'll come out to clear track like you see in F1 and real world races like that. But if you don't, you're kind of just taking a gamble and thinking, I'm battling someone, I'm going to take a risk and jump in and see if I can come out with some clear air and get some hot laps in. Meanwhile, watching Tony Hayes here in 13th, he's just trying to chase down Stefan Schmidt in that brightly colored, looks like 49 Motorsports. Whoa. Meanwhile, De Silva going dirt tracking out in the gravel.
I think Keys has pulled in. He was ahead of those guys for his pit stop, so that's going to make it a little easier. As those four cars have kind of stretched out a little bit there now. Oh, there we're looking at De Silva in 17th.
Hallberg making the pass to the inside, down in one with ease. Oh, but it looks like two positions going to be lost. Locking him up.
Oh, my.
Wow, that was a heads up there by Cruz.
Then let's jump up here. We'll look at Catacasinos in 15th position, trying to work on Ricard Colomb here. This is 14th, of course. Catacasino trying to get back up the hill now. Ahead of him, he's got quite a battle.
Yeah,
Hayes, Schmidt, and well, that's another Vanderbilt there, a lap down.
Van den Brand, actually.
Van den Brand, yeah, thank you.
That's going to keep us on our toes. And he's unfortunately holding these guys up as we almost see too wide. Little bit of contact. That's not often you can get away with it in these skippies.
David Burns coming in the pits, pitting from 4th position with the trouble to Tran and Catacasino, and then Hallberg pitting. Burns has made his way, was all the way up to 4th position, comes in for a very quick stop, and he's back out. Let's follow him, Burns. Let's see if we can pick up Hallberg, because that's who he's battling. Here comes Hallberg through pit exit right now. There's Burns, Hallberg, and Hallberg's going to get him.
Just barely, though. There's going to be less than a second between them. Burns, however, is going to get overtaken by De Silva. And is he going to have Cruz go by? Yes, he does. Cruz goes a little hot into the corner, but he holds on to it. And now it looks like Burns is stuck in the middle.
Took a long time to get that little Skippy motor revved up all the way, so he falls back, has two cars between him, but he was within shouting distance of Hallberg, who is really the leader of all the cars who pitted so far. And there goes Hallberg right now. As I watch him, he's able to negotiate W.J. Van den Brand.
Van den Brand doing his best to try and stay out of the way, but this track is so twisty as cars almost get into one another. That was Burns trying to find a way around Cruz once again. And see, look at this. There's really no place to go for WJ. I mean, he's not really doing much wrong here. It's just that in these S's in this technical part of the course, there's no place to pull over. The line takes you across the track multiple times.
Actually, you see side by side from looking from behind. That's Cruz getting around De Silva, you saw there, and we're looking at it right now.
Cruz and De Silva can't get away from one another. They're costing each other a lot of time, but I have to imagine they're having a lot of fun in the process because they have just swapped positions back and forth.
So a lot of excitement back in the pack as the leaders who have pitted try to negotiate traffic. Meanwhile, up in front, those three.
Whoa! A contact between De Silva and Cruz down into turn one. We're going to watch the replay here. Well, as Mom likes to say, you can jump on the bed as long as you want, but eventually someone's going to get hurt, and that's what happened there.
Looks like they both keep going, but that was I don't think De Silva had much presentation there. They gave him a little punt.
Well, they're side by side through the kink. This is also dangerous here. De Silva's got the inside. Can he hold on to it? Given a little bit of space by Cruz, and he sneaks it through. That is the way you do it down in that turn 5. I said it was possible. It's just tough.
And all of this going on right in front of David Burns, who has already made his pit stop and is challenging for a top 5. Does not want to get caught up in any nonsense that's going on between De Silva and Cruz. And here comes Cruz.
Oh, that we call it the popcorn position, but Burns, I think, is getting a little worried as he's munching on that popcorn. Look at that. Wow, these guys are so close to one another through turn 10. Trust between these two. Burns has got to hustle and try and get in this mix, get by these guys, or he is going to just constantly be held up. Still side by side, down into turn 1. They come almost to blows once again. De Silva to the inside. These guys have got to get it settled. They are getting very rough out there.
Burns had a great exit through the final corner and could have made it 3 wide as it goes on in front of him. Decided to stay back and watch the show. Now they're side by side again.
Still side by side through turn 3. That is not easy. De Silva comes out to the front, and I am shocked that Burns is staying as patient as he is. He really needs to stick his nose in there at some point, try to make a move, and start getting around these guys. I know he doesn't want to sacrifice the car and get caught up in this mess, but at some point you got to say enough is enough. You're slowing me down. I'm going to make the pass.
Because Hallberg is long gone. Any shots of Burns running with Hallberg are gone now. Now it's just a matter of where is he going to cycle out when everybody else starts to make their pit stop. Because this is killing him. Silva ahead of Cruz right now in this battle for 14th with 24 minutes still to go. It'll be a while before these guys have to come in for a pit stop, and I don't see them doing that anytime soon.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're interested in trying to do that as they come off of the final quarter.
Oh my
are we
goodness!
See 3 wide.
I think we are,
guys. He sticks it up the middle. Burns has a run. He might be able to get it done. He's going to be on the outside of Cruz. Can he outbrake him down into the corner? De Silva gives him space. Tries to go around the outside, smokes the brakes. Unfortunately, just doesn't get the momentum. And now we've got De Silva coming back into it, but I think he's going to have the inside down into 3. Burns is going to be able to hold him off.
He got through 1. All right, but no.
De Silva trying to carry the momentum through to the inside. Doesn't quite get it done. Burns now has just Cruz in front of him. If he can just hold off De Silva, who's being very aggressive, and now they got Jonas Blix behind them as well. Has Blix made his pit stop? I'm trying to check and see. Yes, he has.
So Blix running 3rd over all of the drivers who have pitted: Hallberg, Burns, and Blix. The good news for Burns is at least he's gotten care of De Silva, so 1 car is going to be considerably easier. I imagine he's going to be able to get Cruz this time down the main straight, and then he can start making his move.
Yeah, and De Silva has backed off, and he's now got to worry about Blix, who's sticking it up the inside of 10, but almost doesn't make it. He really doesn't execute the pass. Meanwhile, here's the pass that we want to worry about. Burns on Cruz. He's got the draft. Cruz is definitely not interested in playing nice. He takes the inside right away. We saw this last time. It didn't work for Burns. Did he learn his lesson? He doesn't go for the over-under. He's going to try and do it around the outside once again, and it doesn't work. Meanwhile, behind him, Blix makes the move down the inside of De Silva.
And honestly, Burns has got to be fuming now, because he's got to be saying to Cruz, Adrian, you have a pit stop to make. Just let me get by, and we'll get this sorted out.
Yeah, hold on to the draft and let me through. We could be faster that way, but Cruz is not thinking about that. He's got that red mist down into turn 5. He covers him off once again. And look at that. Burns has no option because Cruz takes the apex and he ruins his momentum. Meanwhile, let's jump back up to the front real quick and see what's going on. Vandenbelt seems to be still leading.
Whoa! Oh, Allard almost got into the back of Noom there. My goodness.
He's got to be grateful that they don't have flat spots on iRacing yet, because he'd have a couple of square tires right now.
Running in 4th is Mikkel Engstrom. And we'll watch him to see how he comes out when he makes his pit stop in relationship to Hallberg and Burns and Blixt. Podozek, Brame, and Lupel running in 5th, 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, that's been a tight battle pretty consistently back there. Podozek leading that train. Brame seeing what he can do. Lupel just holding up behind them.
Let's go back to David Burns, because my spidey senses are tingling now, because Jonas Blix, this is a battle for position. Blix has got around De Silva, so now Blix is in the hunt here. So keep an eye on Burns and Blix. Remember, they're on the same pit cycle.
The plot thickens so much it is now cookie dough. These guys are all over each other. Cruz managing to hold them off. You got to give credit to Cruz.
Oh, yeah.
He's been impressive and being defensive and keeping these guys back. That is a great job by him.
And it's a buffer between him and the guy he's fighting, De Silva. De Silva's now 2 cars away, so in that battle for 13th. Now let's see if we can get this done here.
No, it was a terrible exit by Burns. In fact, I think he's got to worry more about Jonas Blixt. In fact, yeah, you saw he went defensive down to the 10, tried to cover him off, takes back to the line. Much better run this time for Burns. Can he get the inside, though? Cruz has been very consistent. Yep,
There's the late move.
Yep. Not going to let him take it no matter what he does. And unfortunately, now he can't back off. Oh, he tries to, but he can't back off enough to try and pull the over-under. He's stuck around the outside. Here goes Blix to the inside. Says, thank you very much. I'm going to take that spot. Or is he? He's going to be side by side. Oh, a great run off of the corner down to 3 for Burns. This is what he needed. He has the inside, but he can't carry the momentum. And Cruz goes
off. Cruz off, yeah.
Oh, he's got to worry about those incident points. Actually, can we tell those now on our... Unfortunately, I'm not seeing the incident points.
They don't let them show up to. I don't
for the spectators.
For the spectators.
Well, that's unfortunate. iRacing, if you could please, for the broadcaster's sake, let us know the incident points. That'll help us out immensely. Meanwhile, Noom has taken his pit stop. He is down to 7th. Who's he got chasing him? Ricard Allard is the next closest. He's taken his pit stop as well.
Now the gap is about 2 seconds there. So that means the only guy, well, Van de Beld is out there right now, the fan belt, running a hot lap. And this is where if I'm on the crew chief, I've got to say, Johan, you got to come in now. You can't afford to let Noam out there run hot laps and outpace you.
Right now he's got Stefan Schmidt in front of him, but he's not terribly close. I think if he starts to get within about 3/10 by the time he reaches this pit entry, that's when he'll want to come in. And yeah, I think at this point, this is where he needs to pit because Stefan's going to hold him up on this lap, and he does. He's got to make the corner, though. This is very tricky on the pit entry. Smokes the tires a little bit. Doesn't matter because he's going to swap them out here. Actually, no, they're not going to swap them out. These guys usually don't take tires.
No tires.
Yeah, that's right.
So now Noom goes around. I guess it's corner 8 or 9, that right-hander that sets up the long back straight.
So that means Wojciech Podolak is going to overtake the lead, but he has yet to take his stop.
Noam just around the final corner. Oh my goodness. Look at the jump he's going to get. Noam is just crossing the start-finish line now. Vanderbilt's going to get this done.
But the momentum is with Noam, remember, down into turn 1. Let's see how Vanderbilt does into there. It's a little bit of a gap, but not much. This is where it's going to be important to see what kind of pace these guys have. Does Noam have better average lap times in race pace over Vanderbilt? Because he will gun him down. He's close enough.
The Vanderbilt was about 0.2 of a second slower in qualifying than the Roland Estonian, so we'll see if he can run him down. Now, keep an eye on who he's got in front of him. He's got Joachim Lundgren in front, who still needs to make a pit stop, running in 5th overall.
Yeah, he's not terribly close to him, and Lundgren's got decent pace, so I don't think he's going to be right on top of him very quickly. Although he's going to be hoping that Lundgren comes in for a pit soon, because in about 2 or 3 laps, maybe he will be on top of him.
So your leader right now is Eric Lukal as he comes around the final corner. Let's see if he's going to. He does not bring it. He's going to stay out one more time. Oh, we hear that his Protozek. Oh, that's right. Lukal running in 3rd. Let's get this straight. Brame in 2nd and Protozek in 1st.
Oh, and here we go. Pass for the lead. Brame looking to the inside of Protozek. Tries to outbrake him down into 1. Takes away that apex. Goes a little bit wide on the exit, though, and we're going to see an over-under attempt. But unfortunately for Protozek, it switches back to the left in 3.
Now keep in mind that these guys are really battling also with Johan Hallberg, who's already made his pit stop. So they don't want to be fooling around. They were right in with, look at Brame going out into the sand. Again, incident points, boys.
Oh, and I think we had a major off with Vandenbrand. He's been off course and just puttering around. I'm not sure if he hit anything. It looks like he didn't from what I'm seeing going back on my screen. I think he's just trying to stay out of people's way through that twisty section. So he's back on track now and back up to pace.
Now, Gnome has opened up. We go to Arrow Gnome real quick. He's opened up about another half second on Allard. Remember, they came out, they were 2 seconds apart. Now it's 2.5 seconds. So Gnome definitely has the pace. The question is, and Vandeveld still holding about a 2-second lead right now on Gnome. Did Vandeveld, did we miss a pit stop? Did Vandeveld come in? I guess he must have.
Yep, yeah. Vandeveld
right.
came in and out ahead of him. We watched that action happen. Very interesting. So Noom's got his work cut out for him. They're not going to let him have the championship easily this time around.
What's interesting is Vandeveld running 6th position right now. Just ahead of him are the guys that are actually leading the race. So he almost has a whole pit stop advantage here. He's catching up on Lundgren, and then ahead of that is Bamber, Lukel in 3rd, Podosek in 2nd, and Bremen first. Those are all the guys that still need to pit.
Now, I want to jump back. Remember Cruz and all the battle that he was putting on? Well, he's still fighting, and it's Jonas Blix trying to find his way by now as Burns is slotted down to the 3rd car in this train. Cruz is just causing these guys all kinds of headaches. This has been going on for what, about 10 laps?
Oh!
Wow, Blix doing a great job of holding on to it. Usually, I mean, these cars are mid-engine. If they start to get sideways, they're going the rest of the way around. So nice job by Blix to keep it together there.
My gosh, that was a migraine, the problems that Cruz is causing for these guys. I got to give him credit. You know, if you're able to hold him back, why not? I mean, he's done it for the last 15 minutes.
Well, the only bad thing is he's not going to gain these positions from these guys unless they make big mistakes, because Cruz still has to make a pit stop, so he's going to slot down the order. If anything, he's just not making friends right now, but he's proven his worth. Unfortunately, I don't think there's really, unless there's a team that's really looking for someone, maybe that might be some points in his pocket that he could get himself on a good team.
But what he has done is got a giant cushion over who he was battling with, and that's De Silva. I mean, De Silva and Cruz were going at it left and right. Now we finally get this done. Looks like Burns is fine. No, he's not, because this is the same move we've seen.
Yeah, it's around the outside.
Yeah, we've seen this before too.
I think that Burns and Blix have got to get on the radio to one another and be like, we got to work together. Like, let me get back up. Don't try and overtake me down in that turn 1 as he's got the inside here down to 3, but still can't quite get it done. But what I'm saying is he's got to be like, let me back up and pull the over-under on turn 1 so I can get a run out and get past him down into 3. Because otherwise, these guys are just, he's never going to let him by around the outside of 1. Meanwhile, Neil Bamber comes in for his stop.
Num goes by. We'll see Allard goes by. What we want to do, and look at this. This is interesting. There's Allard going right now. Look at the difference between Allard back to Hallberg, which is really the guy. My timing and scoring catches up. It's about 4 seconds. This about 5 seconds back to Hallberg.
So Hallberg has dropped back. I think he is out of this fight unless something crazy happens up front with the leaders. So no win for Hallberg this time around.
And Bamber comes out right in front of this battle that we've been watching, and that's put Burns in the wall.
This has got to be one of the most frustrating day for Burns. And Bamber did nothing wrong there. It's just you had too many cars. Wow. I almost wonder if you got to put that one on Blix for trying to squeak through there and not lifting. Let's watch it from above and see if we can get a better call. It's so hard to make these calls in a split second, Bill.
Right, but Burns finally gets the inside on Cruz, which he's been trying to do for the entire 20 minutes, but then he loses the inside because of the car coming out of pit lane.
Yeah, Bamber was just at a terrible spot for that, and Burns has taken a tow. He's back in his pit stall getting repairs. I think, honestly, his day is done. Meanwhile, Vincent Brame came in and he actually missed his pit stall. I think we saw it on screen. In fact, he missed it so badly, he left a tire mark. He skidded his tires into his pit stall. Neagle is going to stay out and inherit the lead. There's no bonus points for that. This is just pride to say that I led a lap.
Let's go to Johan Blixt right now in 11th position, making a move on Neil Bamber. And the good news for Blixt is that Cruz has finally come in to take that pit stop.
Oh man, that has got to be the biggest relief as Blixt completely gives the apex a miss. Thankfully, he gets a decent run. Bamber, though, he's got an even better run, but he's smarter than that. He knows not to try and stick it too wide through 3.
Now, if we go up to second place, which is really the leader of the cars who've pitted, that's Vanderbilt, has made that move around Lundgren. I have to assume Lundgren has that final stop to make. I'm pretty confident about that. And then Noom is running back there in really second position, 4th overall right now. So Lundgren, he's going to go around one more time, but I think Noom's going to eat him up this time. So this is going to be a pass for 3rd. But it's not quite what it is because Lundgren is going to eventually have to pit. Lundgren just lets him take that inside line. And then your leader is still Eric Neagle,
which is going to be handed over to Vanderbilt once he makes his pit stop. Man, this is... Remember how we always talk about Vanderbilt just not being able to perform and get up there for the championship? Well, this is going to re-energize things for him. We haven't seen him at the top spot in a while, if I'm remembering correctly.
But Joey doesn't have a cakewalk from here because we talked about how short this track is. He's going to have to negotiate traffic for the next 8.5 minutes as he goes around Kruger right now. And now off in the grass is another car.
I think that's Van den Brand.
Van den Brand.
He's been very familiar with that part of the track.
That's a technique that some of us backmarkers use sometimes.
Yeah, the good news for Vanderbilt is that Newham was running into the same trouble down into 5 and up through the S's, so he lost a fair bit of time himself. He's not right on top of him, but he's been gunning him down a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can figure out that gap. It's Kruger that he's trying to work his way by, and he balks him badly through turn 10. Not a space where you want to have that happen because you want that momentum. Lundgren comes in.
Pitting in now. I think the best news for Vanderbilt is he's not going to have to get around Adrian Cruz, because Cruz is one tough customer. So I think that's something.
Really.
Now this is interesting. Here comes Vanderbilt right now up onto the back of Neagle, who's 7 minutes away from no stopping this event.
And, he's playing nice, though. Neagle lets him through on the inside intentionally, although the exit's a little bit shady, but no harm, no foul. That gap between them it's down to under a second, actually, between Noam and Vanderbilt. You can see him in the same shot now. Wow, and Vanderbilt is pushing. He completely misses the apex of 5. Thankfully, no passing, or at least not easy passing, down through the S's.
Yeah, how quickly Noam can get around Neagle is going to make this could be the race right here. Because if he can do this quickly, he'll be in the tow.
Is Neagle going to pay the same favor? This would be a good spot for him to do it if he wants to. He's not lifting. He's staying ahead of Noam. So I guess he's in cahoots with Vanderbilt.
I just don't think there's a lot of sympathy for Aero Noam. And he stays out one more time. Now let's see. At least Neagle doesn't take a defensive line as they go around. That's Tran, who's brought the car back out.
All right. Now we got a very clear picture of that gap. It is within half a second. Look at Noam close under braking. That is impressive.
And Vanderbilt was really loose in 1. Noam is there.
Wow. Noam not afraid to throw the anchors out at the last minute. I cannot believe how much time he gained down into 1.
That was really impressive. So now that's the battle. 0.3 of a second with just under 6 minutes to go.
And so this is going to be a very different game from what we saw at the start of the race, Bill. Guys were worried about fuel. They're thinking, we don't have to battle hard because it doesn't matter who's ahead here at the start since they were so close on pace. Now we've got 5 minutes left. these drivers are going to get aggressive. You're going to see guys be very defensive, try to make a little bit more risky moves. The question is Neagle worried about the championship? Is he going to try and hold back just that little bit to try and solidify a second place in points?
The good news is his closest competitor, Hallberg, right now running in 5th place, so even a second place will probably give him the championship lead. But I don't think Noom is that kind of driver. I think he's about to win, and I think here's the pass right now.
Well, prove me wrong. Vanderbilt doesn't go defensive at all. Lets him through. Is he going to go for the over-under? Doesn't quite get the momentum off the corner.
Now, we've seen races in this series on this track before, and here comes Vanderbilt fighting back. And you can actually, if you get a bad exit out of that final corner, you can make a run on him before. And there goes Vanderbilt now on the outside. Not going to be able to make that work. Here comes into turn 5, Joe's favorite passing spot. Whoa. Look at the defensive line that Noom takes, and now they're coming up Joe on some traffic. They got Sanginelli in front of them.
I thought for a second that Vanderbilt got some wheels into the dirt under braking, but he managed to get it woed up. That was Sanginelli that they overtook, that they put a lap on. No harm, no foul, and the battle continues.
So, Joe, is there enough draft down this straight that they're on right here? Can a pass be made here? It seems like
it's I mean, there's a little bit of a draft, but honestly, it's all about the run off of 9. You got to keep your foot to the floor and really carry your speed, because there's a little bit of banking there. This is really where the draft comes in. You're going to see it right here as we ride on board with Johan. The fan belt looks to the inside, and we're going to see a repeat. Yeah, these guys are they're not fighting, they're not worried. I think it's almost like a bit of a Talladega no after you battle here, waiting for that last lap. Oh, and Pierre Skaki's bad day comes to a premature end. He is on his lid. Where is this? This is out of the S's? Oh no, this is... Ooh. He had a bad day coming into 5. He tried to go side by side. I'm not sure if that was for a position with Tony Hayes, and he met the tires on the exit way off there. Actually, the wrong side of the tires.
Actually, that started in turn 4 when he came out wide and then spun it around in the grass, then went up the hill.
Now, let's go back to our leaders. They're coming up to a battle for position between Key and Kuhn. This is going to get very interesting if these guys are going to play nice and let them through. This is like the Wayne's World moment, Bill, where you say car and the game is put on hold, but not everybody likes to play nice like that.
Well, actually, it's a 3-car battle. It's really a battle for 30th between Bolton and Key, because Kuhn is running 26. He's not on the same lap with these guys. Kuhn is the last car on the lead lap. The other 2 cars are a lap down, but nevertheless, they're all going to kind of come together like a perfect storm.
And look at the fan belt. He went defensive that time, just for a moment, before he saw that Noom didn't have a run. Oh, and this is not where you want to catch these guys. Now they're going to lift a little bit. He's going to get by 1. Next up, he's got Kuhn. Kuhn lifts as well. Everybody says car, timeout. And now the battle is back on.
Now we have to watch the clock with 2:03 and lap times around 1:20. I'm thinking this time across will be close.
Oh, and look at Noob. He's taking a look down into 5. He wasn't anywhere close to him, but he gave it a go anyways.
What I think Vanderbilt's going to do, I think he's happy where he is, and he'll take defensive lines down the main straightaway, make Noom have to do it on the outside through 1.
They're close enough a pace. I honestly think you're right that you want to be in P1, because as long as you're far enough ahead, they're not going to have enough of a draft to be able to slingshot pass by the line as far as it is down the front straightaway. And let's watch this here so that we can give our viewers an idea of where that start-finish line. It's right about here. And that's how far those guys have to go. Here comes Noom, though.
A little bit of a drift over as they get the white flag. Now they go side by side.
He pitches him in, gives him just enough space, though.
Vanderbilt gets a little bit loose through 1, doesn't get a great exit off.
Oh, and This is exactly what Johan didn't want. He's got the inside for 3. It's going to be hard to defend around here. He's got to carry as much speed as he can, and he does. Beautiful job.
Oh! Wow. Vanderbilt gave him just enough room. Noom has to drop back in the second. Now Errol's really got to figure it out. Where's he going to get him? He's got to hope for a bad exit somewhere from Vanderbilt.
I'm surprised he gave him just about a car's width down on the inside, but Noom wasn't brave enough to try and outbrake him into 5. Look at how close he is. He actually might be able, if he stays this close and gets a run off of 10, he could slingshot past.
It all depends on what kind of exit Vanderbilt gets out of 10. They come down with now just 1 corner left. We'll see if Noom makes a move on the inside. He's going to try it here. That's not going to work. As they go around the final corner, country roads take me home to the place I belong, and I belong in Victory Circle, and it's going to go to Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt got it. Wow. There was no more than a piece of paper between them coming through 10. I thought that Vanderbilt was going to chop him off. He was not going to let him get that inside line, and bravely, he did.
Allard, Howlberg, Podozek in 5th. We'll see if we have a battle for any positions here left over.
And Neagle
actually had to make a pit stop, is now coming out. is coming out.
And cruising across the line, yeah.
This is a rare, the layout of this track is you can actually make a pit stop before the finish line, which he had to do to get the last 100 yards.
Well, I got 2 of the podium people, just neither of them in the correct position. And Johan Vanderbilt, I'm actually happy that he spoiled the party. It's good to see Johan back up at the top.
And I want to follow up on Adrian Cruz, who really was the star of the show. He's going to get 14th position, finishing on the lead lap. De Silva comes across right now. We saw a little bit of him. Lead lap cars coming across right now, the final one being Mikel Freitas. Okay, with the 19th car coming across, all the drivers have finished their race. Let's take a short break, catch our breath, and we'll be back for run down the entire standings, driver interviews, and closing credits. Back in just a few. Welcome back to the Global Sim Racing Channel's coverage of Formula Neagle Round 3 from the country roads at Summit Point. Oh, we had an exciting one if you were with us for the whole event. Johan van der Velde, the Fan Belt, picks up a win. It's been a long time for him as he comes home in front, able to outfight, to outduel the Roland Estonian Errol Num in second position. Ricard Allard comes home in third. Your points leader, Johan Hallberg, in fourth. Will probably lose that points lead to Num now, but it's going to be close. Wojtek Podolzek in fifth, Mikael Engstrom behind him. Jonas Blixt in a great battle comes home in seventh ahead of Vincent Brame. Bambi, Neil Bamber in ninth position, and Liam Quinn a quiet 10th spot. Joe?
Well, I said that Sam Casinos could get a top 10, but he was just shy of that prediction, coming home 11th. Tony Hayes was in 12th. Adrian the Bulldog Cruz, wow, fought everybody he could today for a well-earned 13th. Richard Cullum comes home in the 14th position. William Martins de Silva in 15th after also having some spirited battles. Fabian Jungbluth, he comes home in 16th. Miguel Freitas in 17th and Eric Lukel in 18th. And you've got Joachim Lundgren with not the best day for him. We're used to seeing him higher up. He finishes in 19th. And Darren Kuhn rounding out the top 20, Bill.
Hitting blackjack is Lauren Murray. Catching 22 is Stefan Schmidt. In the 23rd position, it's Daniel. Please, Soup, don't label me with Freddy Krueger in 23rd. Don't worry, Daniel. That's not going to happen because that's not very good. Not very original. Michael Parks in 24th. In the quarter century spot, boy, we keep looking for him to have a good race. He has the speed. He just can't get it going. Pierce Cockey in 25th. Edgar Sanchinelli did a good job of getting out of the way of the leaders in 26th position. 27th goes to another guy who really took extreme measures to get out of the way, W.J. Vandebrand. Boy, he spent as much time in the alfalfa as he did on the asphalt. Michael Key in 28th. Darren Bolton in 29th. 30th position goes to David Burns. I'll round out the field here. Scott Brazier, Mark Frigures, Tuan Tran, hand grenaded his engine on like lap 3 when he was running fourth in 33rd position. Boy, Tran cannot get anything going. And then Marcel Seidel in 33rd. That's your complete 34 drivers. Joe, let's see if we can get an interview here. Can we get to our leader? We'll let Joe Peak talk to him. Do we have anyone? Yeah, let's let Joe talk to our race winner, the Fan Belt. Joe?
Johan, it feels like it's been a while since we've seen you up at the top spot, but congratulations. You had to work hard for it. Were you at all worried about Newham trying to snipe that position to the line with the draft there on the front stretch?
Yeah, I was. It really feels like a long time ago, and to be honest, I never expected to win or anything. So this is really something special, and I had a great pit stop. Came out several seconds before Eero. 2 seconds or something, and he catched up like quite quickly. So yeah, I thought that's not necessarily on the last lap, but I thought that the last time we would go down the start-finish straight, he would get me in turn 1. But yeah, that didn't happen, and yeah, I still don't know how I kept him behind me, but I never expected this. No.
We were watching that final corner when it seemed like Newham started to stick his nose in. Were you committed to hit that apex no matter what and chopping him off, or were you willing to give him space if you felt like he had got far enough inside?
Well, I wanted to get the apex, of course, but because he pinched his nose in, I steered away to give him a little bit of space because I didn't know if he would go fully into the apex or if he would like just show his nose or try to scare me. Because I didn't want to touch wheels in the last corner and then both like lose it in the last corner. That would be terrible. So I tried to give him a little bit more space, and I went a little bit wide because of that. So yeah, I wanted to get the apex, but yeah, I didn't expect him to make a move there. I thought he would do it on the start-finish straight. But yeah, it all went fine in the end.
And thank goodness you guys gave us a great finish. Now, next round is at a very different track, with Barber being a much more modern facility and very wide. Are you looking forward to that compared to Summit, which is kind of cramped conditions, even in the small little Skippy?
Well, I love the Summit. Like, it's my favorite track with probably on iRacing. So Of course I look forward to Barber. I've only raced there once, but a few weeks ago, and Aero beat me then, so I don't don't expect to beat Aero there. But Barber should be fun. Like it's a track where it's really difficult to overtake. So I'm really curious how pack driving will be, especially with this amount of people.
We're curious as well. That was our winner, Johan Vandenbelt, back up at the top spot. We'll see how he fares with the rest of the championship. Meanwhile, second place, let's go to Bill, who's talking to Noom.
Errol, I guess I'm going to give you congratulations on your second place win. Boy, that was a hard battle. I got 3 questions for you. Let's go ahead and start, first of all, with pit stops. Man, pit stops killed you at Bathurst, and they didn't do you any favors here again today. You came out 2 seconds behind. Were you worried you weren't going to be able to get back up to Vanderbilt after the stops?
Well, I pitted quite early, so I had confidence that even with this gap I can still catch him up. But yeah, it was panic in the pits, so definitely.
Yeah, those boys, you're going to have to pay them more. They're not making it easy for you. All right, let's go to the final lap. We'll go to 2 parts of it. Let's first of all take, starting the final lap, Vanderbilt takes that defensive line down to 1. You go on the outside, that's expected. But then you're able to hold that outside line where you get the preferred position going into 3. Boy, that was exciting. Did you think you might have a chance to get that spot there going through 3 side by side?
Yeah, you always think you have a chance, but because I'm in the top in the championship, I had more to lose than Johan. So yeah, I took it a little bit easy. So.
Wow, that's really interesting what you just said. You were able to see the big picture. So you're telling me if this was a one-off race just for fun, you might have been a little more aggressive.
Yeah, probably.
All right, let's spin you over now to the last part. I think Joe and I both figured, and I think Johan Vanderbilt thought as well, that you would make your move on corner exit and try to get a run going to the start-finish line. But you tried to get your nose inside that final corner 10. Was that always the plan, or did it just work out that way?
Well, I saw he's not covering the inside, so I give it a chance. But yeah, I didn't think I can get on the corner exit, so that was my only chance.
Yeah, you had a race. I remember calling a race with you. I think it was last season where you actually had a bad exit out of 10 that almost cost you the victory with Tron Tran. You were able to hold him off. Am I remembering that right? Do you remember it that way?
Yeah, that was my first race, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I told you 3 questions. I have one more for you. Do you do much what we call in America scoreboard watching during the race? Did you know that Hallberg was back there running in 5th? Do you do that much?
Yeah, and I also saw that Tuan, I think he blew his engine, so.
This has been a great interview. I've learned a lot. Errol, congratulations on second place. I was going to congratulate the winner. I'll congratulate Vanderbilt as well. You know, what's really surprising is I think you're back in the points championship. You're back in front. Yeah. It would be hard to believe that was the case where you've only had one. I got one more question for you before I let you go. Do you think that it's just a matter of luck, or have the rest of the competition upped their game a little bit this season? Because it's not quite as easy as it was before.
Well, I'm traveling a lot, so today I got home like 20 minutes before the quali, so it's not easy.
Got it. It's all about practice time. Well, good. Congratulations, not on second place, but getting back into the point lead. Errol Num, your runner-up today. Joe?
All right, we've got one more, and that's Ricard Allard, third place finisher. He was a part of the battle earlier on, and then he slipped back. And much like we saw with Aero Noom, it seemed to be the pit stops that cost him a lot. Ricard, was it a bit of a boring race after those pit stops? Because it seemed like you were holding on before then.
Well, I can summarize my race in one sentence. I'm going to fire my pit crew. Note to self: press the correct button when you when you enter the pit, and you should tell them to stop fueling. And you press the wrong button, they won't stop fueling. So you're my mistake. And I was lost then, and I figured I'm gonna just focus on trying to keep Johan Hallberg behind me. And I managed to do that. So I'm happy with third.
A little bit earlier in the race, you had a very scary moment coming down into turn 1 where you had to lock up the brakes to try and avoid getting into them. Were you trying to set up a pass for that, or was it just that you missed your markers?
Just let's say I ran out of talent. I was talking to Eero on TeamSpeak, and Johan braked a little bit earlier than usual. So when I was coming up my brake marker, I noticed I was way too late on the brakes. So, well, I could have been a good one taking out your own team member, but I managed to save it. So.
Don't want to have a Sauber moment out there.
Eero just said, "What are you doing?"
Well, you unfortunately started on the front row and you finished third. Are you disappointed with that, or are you happy to just take a solid points finish home?
I'm super happy with third. I mean, Johan had the pace today, and it was his favorite track, so I'm happy with third. I think it's going to put me second in the championship. I'm not sure, but I'm happy. I'm always happy.
Well, that's the important part, as long as you're happy with that finish. That was Ricard Allard, our final podium spot finisher here in the Formula Neagle Cup. Bill, are you ready to take us home?
I think we're going to wrap it up. We'd like to thank the Absolute Beginner League for organizing Formula Neagle and for contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. I want to personally thank the drivers in this series for putting on a great show. It makes Joe and I and Amjad our job so much more fun when you give us hard racing, but more important, clean racing. Nice job, gentlemen. Thanks to the company's equipment and software that we see on the screen now, that we use for this broadcast. The original music that you heard today on the broadcast is thanks to two guys, Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact each of them, and if you haven't done it yet, come on, download some of their digital music. It's good stuff. Thanks to my mic make, Joe Peak, and of course Amjad for doing the directing, Dougie Beard for his great camera locations that we hear so much good talk about from you guys of all the series. Yeah, he does a lot of time. He works really hard to give you guys original, always updating it. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, your best bet, of course, is globalsimracingchannel.com. We're also on Twitter at GSRC Channel and Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel. The Absolute Beginner League and Formula Neagle will return in 2 weeks for round 4 on June 26th from Barber Park. I love that place. That'll be good. For details on all upcoming events, of course, go to globalsimracingchannel.com. And now that all the housekeeping is out of the way, it's time for us to all go off and have fun storming the castle. So until next time, race hard like they do in the Absolute Beginner League. Race clean like they do in the Absolute Beginner League. And we'll see you on the track.